Welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, the Federal Executive Council approves the full implementation of the Stephen Oronsaye panel report to merge some parastatals, agencies and some commissions, while others will be subsumed, scrapped or relocated. The Nigeria Labour Congress suspended its two-day protests all over the country, says objectives of the protests were achieved on the first day of demonstration. And President Bola Tinubu inaugurates the Lagos Red Line Rail Project, an interstate rail service spanning 37 kilometers aimed at improving transportation within the city. Plus, more than 100 Palestinians reportedly killed while waiting for aid to be delivered in northern Gaza. U.S. says Washington is seeking additional information on the tragedy. And that's News Round in view. We begin News Round now with the Stephen Oronsaye report. 12 years after the Committee on the Rationalization and Restructuring of Federal Government Parastatals, Commissions and Agencies submitted its recommendations, the report has now been approved for implementation. The report recommends the merging, scrapping or relocation of some parastatals, agencies and commissions. The decision, according to the Special Advisor to the President on Policy Coordination, Hadiza Bala Usman, is in line with the need to reduce cost of governance and streamline efficiency across governance value chain.
It's the second Federal Executive Council meeting of the year. As usual, in attendance are ministers, some aides to the president, and other government officials. Almost 4 hours after the meeting commenced, it is time to outline the decisions taken. The major decision being the status of the Oronsaye Committee recommendations.
There is a landmark decision that was taken by the Federal Executive Council today. Recall that in 2012, the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan instituted the so-called Oronsaye report.
The report was not implemented that year. Another attempt by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2014 also failed.
And the aspects that are applicable to mergers, as I said, subsuming and scrapping.
This time, it has scaled the hurdle and is to be implemented.
Our administration has taken a very bold step towards implementation on aspects of the Oronsaye panel report, which speaks to mergers, subsuming, scrapping and relocation of parastatals, agencies and commissions of federal government. This is in line with the need to reduce cost of governance and ensure that we have streamlined efficiency across the governance value chain.
She then outlines some of the organizations affected.
For agencies that are required to be merged, I'll take it. National Agency for Control of AIDS, HIV/AIDS, NACA, to be merged with the Center for Disease Control in the Federal Ministry of Health. National Emergency Management Agency to be merged with the National Commission for Refugee Migration and Internally Displaced Persons. The Border Communities Development Agency to be subsumed to function as a department under the National Boundary Commission. The National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission to be subsumed into the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission. The National Blood Service Commission to be converted into an agency and relocated to the Federal Ministry of Health.
The team makes it clear that these changes will not lead to staff disengagement.
The fact that the Oronsaye report has been approved and adopted by Council today does not mean that people will lose their jobs. All those who are employed, whether they have been moved, subsumed, or scrapped, will find accommodation within relevant government agencies.
The committee has been given 12 weeks to ensure all legislative amendments and restructuring are implemented to make this a reality. Council has also outlined some guidelines for universities to abide by following their exit from the IPPIS. The universities have also been encouraged to do more in terms of research outputs, even as government promises to provide sufficient funding. From the Presidential Villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
And now to the rising cost of living in the country. The Nigeria Labour Congress, after taking its dispute with the government to streets across the country, suspended its action on the first day. In a statement signed by the NLC president and acting general secretary, the union explained that the decision followed a review of the nationwide action, which the NLC leadership says achieved the objectives it had set. It further notes that the NLC decided to extend its initial one-week ultimatum, which was intended to expire by March 3rd, to March the 13th to enable the government implement all agreements reached on October 2nd, 2023, and other demands presented in its letter during the nationwide protests. Earlier in the day, the NLC had made good its plan to stage a nationwide protest. In Abuja, the union led hundreds of protesters in a march to the National Assembly, where they called on the government to immediately implement policies that will ease the suffering of the people.
The leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) is making good its threat to stage a nationwide protest over rising cost of living in Nigeria, despite warnings from the Department of State Services. In the nation's capital, the president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero, is leading the march, singing solidarity songs while displaying placards that articulate their demands. Security deployment helped to maintain orderliness, and the National Assembly gate is open for the protesters who thronged into the premises. Here are the concourse of the National Assembly. The protesters call on the President of the Senate to address their demands. The president of the NLC then hands over a letter to the National Assembly after making a speech.
There is hunger in this land. All over, in all the states of the Federation. The NLC is sounding it loud and clear that Nigerians are hungry. That our currency is weak. That transportation is high. That there is insecurity everywhere. That there is unemployment everywhere. That the wage is insufficient.
The protesters are demanding, among other things, that the federal and state government provide subsidy for farmers to boost food production, put an immediate halt to the dollarization of the economy, abandon all IMF and World Bank policies, and pay all outstanding arrears of salaries and pensions for workers. The National Assembly leadership is promising to accelerate debate and actions on the demands.
We want to assure you that this letter will be discussed immediately at the plenary session. The leadership of the National Assembly feels what you feel. By the grace of God, you will see our reaction.
In a related development, dozens of workers in many northern states comply with the directives of the NLC to protest in their states. In Kaduna, Niger, Kwara, Kano, Plateau, Taraba, Katsina, and Sokoto State, workers marched through the streets to protest the rising cost of living.
This is a protest with simple message. We are saying there is hunger in the land, there is insecurity in the land, and people are not happy. These are the three messages.
There is hunger in the land, and things are very hard. And this is caused by the harsh policies of the present government.
The protesters sing solidarity songs and display placards with messages summarizing their demands.
We are protesting against the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for so many reasons. One, he should fix the economy. Number two, he should also reduce the fuel price.
the common man cannot breathe. They say let the poor breathe, but the reverse is the case. And as a matter of that, we don't have any organization who can speak for the masses, who can speak for the poor ones, who can speak for the common ones, who can speak for the less privileged, except Nigerian Labour Congress. That is why we are all out this morning.
This is the second time in 6 months that the NLC is staging a nationwide protest and asking the government to implement policies that will ameliorate the sufferings of the people as a result of the rising cost of living.
Meanwhile, here in Lagos State, the NLC held a rally alongside members of unions and civil society groups who converged under the flyover bridge at Ikeja. From there, they marched onto the streets and terminated the procession at the State House of Assembly arena at Oronsaye, where they presented their demands to the state government officials.
The Nigerian Labour Congress is the lead convener. They are joined by affiliate unions for a protest scheduled to hold for 2 days. The police have been on ground as early as 7 a.m., manning every point to ensure a peaceful procession. The movement starts about 9 a.m. The destination is 3 kilometers away from the starting point.
Untold hardship is too much in the land for all Nigerians. We want the government to quicken all their decisions. It should not be anti-people's policies, but decisions and policies that will yield a positive effort in ensuring that this untold hardship is brought to a halt.
It's a sunny day and a long walk. On the sideline, the police share water and biscuits to keep protesters hydrated. After walking for over an hour, the union members are now at their final stop.
We have no choice but to insist that every tier of government should manage its own affairs, should be accountable to the people. We are saying that since fuel subsidy was removed, the federal government, state government, and local governments are smiling to the banks without any commensurate improvement in the lives of our people.
After all said and done, they presented their demands to the Lagos state government officials who promised to treat their letters.
This is the letter from Mr. Governor. To him. Oh, we want to see Mr. Governor tomorrow.
If we have to start state police, Lagos State, we are ready for the state police. I'm going to tell our commissioner, always making Lagos State one of the safest. Thank you very much.
It's the end of the rally here, day one at the State Assembly. The rally started at Ikeja on the bridge before the labor union leaders led protesters to this point. The demands have been submitted to the leadership of the State House of Assembly. They say they will gather tomorrow again and continue to press until the demands are met. Dare Idowu, Channels Television News.
Thank you for staying with us. So other top stories this week, we see the president has inaugurated the Red Line rail project in Lagos, the second rail line to be launched in the state. At the inauguration of the project, the president reiterated his administration's commitment to improving on the nation's infrastructural development. He also seized the opportunity to address the Nigerian Labour Congress, saying the union is not the only voice of Nigerians.
It's an inauguration like no other for President Bola Tinubu, who is not only returning to his home state, but also launching a project so dear to him. Some governors from southwest states and beyond, as well as other personalities, are on hand to welcome him.
president arrives and soon after performs the unveiling.
His Excellency.
He then proceeds to the auditorium for the main event.
Formal commissioning of Lagos Rail Mass Transit Red Line Phase 1.
As part of the intermodal transport arrangement, the rail line is expected to change how people commute in the state.
What we are witnessing is a bold testimony for our spirit of enterprise, our never say never spirit. That is the spirit of Lagos.
I like to say that this is people-centered project. This project is interest of the people. This is the president's vision. How can we do things for the people? Our own Mr. Selibo.
For the host governor, successive governments in the state have been working on the plan to connect every part of the metropolis. And it's finally happening.
I stand here very proud to say that the Lagos State Strategic Transport Master Plan that outlines what those integrated rail system stood for, which are 6 rail corridors, 1 monorail, 14 BRT corridors, and over 20 water routes on vast network of what is today the tiniest, smallest state in our country called Lagos State. We're indeed happy that that master plan is alive, is working, and all successive government, from my brother Babatunde Fashola to my other brother Akim Ambode, and to our humble administration, have kept faith with it.
Next, Lamata, the agency overseeing the rail project, and the contractor signed the MOU for the phase 2 of the Red Line.
Jagaban of Africa, the city boy.
As the president takes the podium, he reflects on the state of the nation.
I agree. Smugglers will fight back. Corruption will fight back. We will fight them to ruin. Corruption will go away. We have a governor in hope. And I'm standing before you, clinging to that hope, assuring you my belief that Nigeria will be out of economic problems. The labor union should understand that no matter how much we cling to our freedom and rights, to call for strike within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. If you want to participate in the electoral process, wait until 2027. If not, maintain peace. You are not the only voice of Nigerians.
The president and other invited guests take the inaugural train ride from the Ikeja station to Agigi.
The Red Line has now been inaugurated by the president, who is being credited for initiating the project when he was the governor of the state so many years ago. The test run will now begin before the train service becomes fully operational. The Lagos state government is seeking to reduce travel time by decongesting the road. According to the governor, more than 500,000 people will be able to use the train service when it becomes fully operational. Dari Ito, Channels Television News.
To the economy now, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee has raised monetary policy rate by 400 basis points to 22.75% from 18.75%. This was announced by the CBN Governor, Olayemi Cardoso, at the end of the first monetary policy meeting in 2024. The MPC also raised the cash reserve ratio to 45%, while leaving liquidity ratio unchanged at 30%. According to Mr. Cardoso, the considerations at the two-day deliberations include persisting inflationary and exchange rate pressures.
This is the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting since July 2023 and the first under the new Apex Bank Governor, Yemi Cardoso.
I hope that decisions of the MPC.
The Monetary Committee meeting is coming at a time when inflation is at an all-time high of 29.9%, triggered by an increase in food prices and living conditions of most Nigerians. It is for this reason that the committee raised the monetary policy rate.
The committee decided to further tighten monetary policy as follows. 1, raise the MPR by 400 basis points to 22.75 from 18.75%.
Some reasons were attributed to the rising rate of inflation by the committee. This includes insecurity and poor infrastructure.
Considering the option of a hold policy, the evidence revealed that previous policy rate hikes have slowed the rise in inflationary pressure, but not to a desirable extent. Members considered various scenarios of hold and hike and concluded that inflation could become more persistent in the medium term and thus pose more regulatory challenges if not effectively anchored.
The Apex Bank boss then gives an account of how a total of 10 trillion naira disbursed for various interventions over 6 years failed to yield the desired results.
The interventions that took place in the recent past were estimated in excess of 10 trillion naira. I'm not talking about ways and means. I'm talking about the interventions that you just asked about. Over 10 trillion naira. What was the budget of the federal government of Nigeria? What was the budget of the largest state in Nigeria? Do the math and it will tell you the extent of damage.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Apex Bank promises to continue to keep an eye on both the monetary and fiscal authorities to ensure that the nation's economy is restored to the path of growth while projecting an economic growth rate of 3.3% for the year 2024. From the headquarters of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
And to outside our shores now, Hamas-run Health Ministry says over 100 persons have been killed and dozens injured while trying to get aid in northern Gaza on Thursday. U.S. President Joe Biden has expressed concern that the incident may complicate efforts of the United States and other mediators to broker a ceasefire in the war between Hamas and Israel. The U.S. Department spokesperson, Matthew Miller, says Washington is seeking additional information on the tragedy in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. is reiterating its stance on the significance of providing more humanitarian aid to Gaza through multiple access points.
Let me start by addressing the tragic incident in northern Gaza today, where more than 100 Palestinians are reported to have been killed and many more injured. I first of all want to express the United States' deepest condolences to the families of those who died. We are urgently seeking additional information on exactly what took place. We have been in touch with the Israeli government since early this morning and understand that an investigation is underway. We will be monitoring that investigation closely and pressing for answers. This tragic event also underscores the importance of expanding and sustaining the flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza in response to the dire humanitarian situation, including through a potential temporary ceasefire as part of a hostage deal. We continue to make clear in all of our discussions with the government of Israel that all possible measures must be taken to allow the entry of more assistance into Gaza through as many points of access as possible, and to enable safe and secure distribution of that aid throughout Gaza. We also continue to explore other measures. I'm not going to get into what those are from this podium, but we continue to consider a number of other possible measures to get assistance in, as well as working with other countries to get assistance in. You saw the government of Jordan facilitate an airdrop earlier this week, something that we very much support.
And those were the top stories for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye-bye.